Hi, everyone. How's it going? This is M.L.S. Weech. Welcome to another weekly episode where we look at some book covers, talk about what makes them great, maybe offer a few ideas on what might have been done to make them even better, and then allow you to vote on your favorite. This is a pretty exciting episode this week because we get to end the July book covers because you have spoken, and we get to announce that the week 4 book cover of the month is none other than A Desert Torn Asunder by Bradley P. Bailu. This was an outstanding cover. It was actually a very close race. There were 3 covers that were getting several votes. I actually had more votes for this week's book covers than any other week before, and I certainly hope this trend continues. Speaking of trends and things that people are doing, I would greatly appreciate it if you like this video and you watch it. Please click the like button and the share button and the notification button, maybe the subscribe button. And if you're really feeling generous, I invite you to use the link down below to go to my Amazon account because I am a self-published author. And if you look at some of my books and decide you might want to try one of them, I would be greatly appreciative. And this being the last book cover of the week for July means that this cover and 3 others will be in the 2021 July book cover of the month overall competition, and you will see the link for that poll down below, along with the link that you can see from this week's series of book covers. So without further ado, we're going to go into the first week of August. The first book cover we're going to talk about is it's a little tough to see. The Garden of the Golden Girl, I believe is what it's called. Let's double check it. The Garden of the Golden Children, and that's by Ashley Hutchinson. This has really strong color. Yellow is one of the more powerful colors. Believe it or not, orange is the strongest color. When a bunch of really, really smart people sat in a room and decided which colors were strong, orange won. I don't know why. Maybe it like arm wrestled or something, whatever. Whatever happened though, orange is strong, yellow is still very, very strong. So that gold silhouette just yanks the eye to that cover. The font works well around it. It's a little tough to read for my taste. I think what I'd like to do in this case is maybe separate the pattern that they're running in the background, clear that up so that it's not. I'd still like it if it were wrapping around. But the fact that I got all those little shapes and graphics around the text makes it hard for me to read it, at least. I don't know. What do you think? You can comment down below and let me know. But those patterns, that detail is so intricate. That gold is so powerful. I do like the way that they place the font, even if I'm not the biggest fan of the actual appearance of it. And so I felt this book was deserving. You'll have your chance to vote for this and the rest of these in the poll down below. The next cover we're going to talk about is Forged by Crucible by Nick Plume. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up for you guys to look at as well so we can talk about it together. Forged by Crucible, this book cover is really about composition to me. I like the Avengers feel that we have to it, where we got the guy fighting in the background, we got the other people working in a fighting circle or whatever you want to call it, and the detail of the art is good. It's not as exceptional as other covers I've seen before. The issue I actually have is the background. Sure, I get that it's like a futuristic cityscape, but it's not distinct enough to be unique, and it's not futuristic enough to be interesting in and of itself. The figures in the foreground are cool, and their motions and their positions are interesting, but I just can't get behind the actual background, and the font cover is a little too dominant for me. I take that whole set of information, the Tenari Forged by the Crucible, I just bring that down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller so that it's not competing with the size of the actual figures. It's still pretty cool art. It's still a pretty cool pose. I still think it's worthy of recognition, so I selected it to be here for those covers. The next one's pretty cool. It's called Psychonautic by Darren Frey. I'm not normally a fan of red in covers, and yet I look at this cover and I'm like, well, I actually like that. The silhouettes, I'm kind of a sucker for silhouettes, so I tend to gravitate toward those. And if you're not a fan of them, I completely respect your opinion. If I'm looking at silhouettes with other instructors or other artists, other photographers, they're like, man, silhouettes are boring. I'm like, I get it. They're overdone. I just like them. You know, what are you going to do? Everyone has a right to their own personal feeling. I like the dynamics of it. I like the detail of the hair and the falling individual. I like how they're semi-reaching for one another. And the red and the pattern, the way they waffle, I guess, the black and red adds an element that makes it easier to see. It's a little hard to read. Like if you look at the PSYCH, I can get around that. But that O, it is an O. If you go to the link and you look at the actual cover, it's Psychonautic. But that O and that A look almost identical, and that's probably not the greatest thing. However, at the end of the day, the detail in the silhouettes are great. The use of red is one of the stronger colors. In fact, if you have some fun and you scan through a page or two in the Kindle book section, you're going to notice a lot of red, a lot of yellow, a lot of orange. Blue is a big one, even though that's regarded as a cool color. It's not thought of as one of the weaker ones. It's still common in covers, but this one kind of yanks your eye, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty dynamic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, I'm on. Well, I said I'm doing pretty well in terms of book covers. For a minute, I was afraid I only had 6, and that would have been bad. So the next cover we're going to talk about is On Time by Pam Jarvis. And there were a few very little things that I want to talk about here that, as small as they are worthy of a lot of attention. One is the use of pattern and color in the font itself. That is a very clever thing to do. It helps unify the cover. The other is the placement of the preposition on in front of the word time. A lot of people think linearly with text. So it's like the name of the wind. That's not how it's arranged in the book cover, but a weaker designer would put it all in a row because it's common. People read left to right, so it's what they think of doing. But you don't have to do that. And here, this person put the preposition on as part of the visual element so they can emphasize the word time. And then that lets the little watch compass looking thing really stand out. I like the use of color, and the details just insane. So while this cover doesn't have many components, background, compass, time, clock element, title text, author text, it still has so much detail. It's really unique, and I want to give my credit to the author. The next book cover we're going to look at is Rayan the Amnesiac by T.D. Ward. T.D. Ward is a very popular author in the world today, and I'm glad to look at his cover. So you have this figure walking through this wasteland, this ashen battlefield, and I think the ashen battlefield and fog is in and of itself a very interesting landscape. It goes for impact without maximizing what's called peak action, when you have like armies colliding and there are little figures everywhere. It doesn't mean it's one's good and the other's bad. All I'm saying is this image shows that you don't need 50,000 soldiers on a cover to make it look good. This cover looks very, very good. I love how the figure is just a little bit off center, below the center line. And it's not, I don't know if I'm looking at this. It's not like horribly off. It's just enough off to draw the eye without completely ruining the effect that balance has. When you have two equal weighted objects and you put something in the middle, that eye is going to go to the thing in the middle. It's really, really hard to stop. So those are nice aspects of this. The detail in this cover is also good. If not as good as the previous cover. But at the end of the day, the only knock I have on the cover isn't a design faux pas. It's not a design rule. But man, there's just no color here. There's no color. And if anybody puts any color on this, the eye is going to get yanked away from this muted gray monotone cover. And so it's not my favorite part of it, but it's still an incredible cover. from a highly successful author. The second to last book cover we're going to look at, and I'm just going to butcher this name, it's called Amalgam, and that's by Mike Duke. So I thought this cover was interesting, and I thought it was dynamic. I don't know if this is the cover I'm going to pound the table on when you guys are voting. It's cool. I like the detail in the background figure. I just think that this bright, fiery figure in the background really overpowers the figure in the front. On one hand, I'm like, well, props, you understand lighting, so you know that this big burning entity behind this guy is going to overshadow him. But even if that were the case, the shadows would be on the wrong side. The light doesn't work out for me. So what I'm looking at here is a lot of detail, a lot of energy, and those are good things. I just don't know that the composition is great, and as I'll probably ever be, I'm not happy with the font and the way it's arranged in the cover. That doesn't take away from the energy. It doesn't take away from the art. It's just stuff I felt was worthy of note. One more book cover to look at today, and that is A Glass of Glass and Ashes by Elle, Madison, and Robin D. Mayle. Robin D. Mayle, I believe her name is pronounced, and I apologize if I was inaccurate in that. So I looked at this, and immediately, like, I heard like the Disney theme, you know, when Tinkerbell comes up and it creates the whole Disney area. This really harkens to that. I feel like it has to be intentional because the castle in the background screams Disney to me too. But I love the use of the overlay in the blue. I like the use of color. Font's a little hard for me to in this case because it's a gold font on top of a light blue silhouette. So it gets a little tough for me to read, but it's still there. It's still legible. The proportions look acceptable. So all in all, it's a pretty solid image, if not a great one. And I think what's really holding it from being a great image is tweaking that text and that font up. And now you're really humming. So that is the last book cover of the month. So one more time, what's going to happen is the 4 previous winners for all of July, which include A Desert Torn Asunder, are going to go in their own bracket or poll of 4 covers, and you can vote for that in the July book cover of the month competition down below. And these 7 that we looked at and talked to today are going into their own poll where you can vote for them, and the first winner will be automatically entered into the August book cover of the month competition. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please remember to go down and vote and pick your favorite one. As always, I appreciate you being here. God be with you.